Listen, I think a lot of people might be wondering why we're talking about food on a show where we generally talk about politics. I think that food is inherently political. I wonder how you see it.
I absolutely agree, Alicia. Food is inherently political. When you think about kind of dominant patterns around what we quantify as healthy, there are particular pathways. And when we think about culture from around the world, most racial and ethnic minorities are actually left out of that conversation. So just as you said, food is inherently political because there's a whole group of people, really the global majority, Black, brown, indigenous folks, who are not a part of that conversation.
You know, when we talk about the FDA sort of putting recommendations on food, talking about which foods are healthy, I wonder how a one-size-fits-all nutritional recommendation lands when what you're talking about is a global majority.
Yeah, so it absolutely does not land. What we see, especially in the US and also rising worldwide, is these high rates of non-communicable conditions. We know that Black, brown, and indigenous people are disproportionately burdened with these conditions. And so if we keep making recommendations that are very much based in quote unquote white American food ways, people are not going to eat those foods that are recommended. What we really need to do is tell people your cultural foods fit, and let's find ways to modify them so they can meet your health nutritional goals.
Right. I think a lot of us internalize that message that we receive somewhere along the way, that the foods we grew up loving, the ones that our grandmothers made for us in their kitchens, were somehow unhealthy or were wrong. Can you give us an example of healthy meals from around the world that are often overlooked when you're talking about healthy food here in this country?
Absolutely. So just today, I was speaking with my husband about callaloo. So callaloo is a dish that shows up in Trinidad and Tobago, in Jamaica. There's a version. The base is non-starchy vegetables, so greens, and there's some pumpkin in there. We're talking about vitamin C, we're talking about fiber, we're talking about plant-based protein, and these are the real basis of a healthy pattern of eating. However, what we see in the recommendations is that you should sit down to steamed broccoli, brown rice, and boiled chicken, and that is not what everybody around the world sees as healthy or actually recognizes as things that they want to eat.
The face you just made around steamed broccoli is the same face my husband makes when I suggest the same for dinner. So I appreciate that. You also make a point in the book, which I think is really interesting, which is this idea that eating culturally relevant food is important to your health, can actually do something for you. What is the value add of eating food that comes from your culture?
So we all want to be recognized, and we all want to eat food without shame. When we eat foods that give us that taste of home, we're more likely to engage in eating that food. And those foods I found as I travel around the globe are inherently nourishing. So we nourish our bodies with vitamins, minerals, and it's information for our cells. So when you sit down to that bowl of sancocho, when you sit down to that peas and rice, when you sit down to the callaloo, you're actually flooding your body with nutrients, and your nervous system is able to relax, take it in, and feel absolutely good.
Those images on screen of your beautiful dishes, I am extra hungry. I have to ask you before I let you go, your family dish, what's the story behind it? I've got about 30 seconds.
Okay, so my family dish is really from my grandmother, my maternal grandmother, one of my absolute favorite dishes that I grew up eating. And I really wanted to make a version and bring it to the home cook so that they could enjoy it with their families and loved ones.